Good morning, Rachel. It's so nice to see you today. Happy Monday.
Yes, you too. I'm so happy to be here.
I'm so happy that you're here and calling in from Little Rock. Is it right? We were just, chatting a little bit before we clicked record, and you're home now for the week before graduation.
Yes, I just needed a reset before the craziness of graduation week hits. So
Yes. And I must ask, did the puppy come with you to Little Rock, or are they a treat that's part of your visit there?
she lives here. So you might
So
see her in the corner just sniffing around.
Oh my gosh, I think that's like in the top three reasons to go home. My parents
Oh
being the
yeah.
other two, right? Like they're just, oh, what is her
Yes.
name?
Her name's Bella. She's a boxer. Here she can.
She is the best. Oh
Yeah,
my gosh,
she's
so
just
sweet.
an old girl.
So having fun with her, getting to rest a little bit, hopefully.
Yes.
Um, I'm so happy that you're here. So for anyone who doesn't know you, this is Rachel Johnson, painter, graphic designer, artist, and fellow U of A student, soon to be graduate. Congratulations. I'm happy to have this moment with you to kind of reflect on your career to date while being a student and what's coming up next for you.
Yeah, this is perfect timing. So
Right past finals, right before the big
yes.
hurrah. Before we get into like the more like technical stuff of your, field and your work, I was reading your Instagram, I think it was, and it said you love to paint, listen to true crime podcasts, and read books that will make you cry. And I
Yes.
have a big drive coming up, 24 hours from here to New York, where I'm from.
Uh-huh.
So I'm interested in hearing which crime podcasts these are and what book recently made you cry that you'd recommend. Um, Audiobook version for myself.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, my go-to true crime podcast is Morbid. It's my favorite of all time. They're so funny. They bring some humor to a really dark subject. So it's really fun. I love listening to them. It's mainly when I'm working on a big project or driving, just living, and they're just always on. And oh gosh, I just read a few books. The Silent Patient is a really good one. I'm into the mysterious thriller
Oh
books.
my God.
So The Silent Patient and any Colleen Hoover book will make me sob. So
So trendy, right? I feel like I hear her name
yeah, I know. And I'm
everywhere.
not normally a like romance book person, but I really love the way that she writes. So it really gets to me.
Okay, you might be the final, like the straw that broke the camel's back. I might have to finally try Colleen Hoover
Yes.
'cause I'm hearing her name.
Yeah, if you do, try Verity first. It's my favorite of all time. It's so good.
Okay. Charity. And
Yeah,
does it end on a good note?
kind of. It's not so much a romance, more of like a weird, like twisty, mysterious. It's different from what she normally does, but my favorite romance book from her is Ugly Love, I think, and
Oh
it
my
is
gosh.
so
Okay, I'm very
good.
excited to explore all of these. Thank you. And I think it's so
Yes.
cool to just even start on this kind of unrelated note because we are such, multifaceted
Yeah.
beings that if you were to look at your work, which we'll do later, like, and hear you love morbid and like true crime, like
Yeah.
it's so cool that you have all these different parts of who you are and how you show up and how you create for others and like the creativity you seek out for yourself. It all fits together into the
Yeah,
beautiful package
it
that is
totally
Rachel.
does.
Well, we will backtrack now a little bit, and I'd love to understand a little bit more of like Rachel growing up. Were you in Little Rock? What were you doing? Your school life, how it all kind of gets us to this point of graduating from the U of A and going into graphic design.
Yeah, it's a weird story for sure. So as a kid, I've always been really artsy and creative and always wanting to draw and paint. Just every chance I could, I would take my coloring books to church with my mom when we would go, and I would just sit and color the whole time, not paying attention. But yeah, I was always into that as a kid through middle school. It was always something that was just a hobby of mine, something that was expressive for me as a kid. Um, and in high school, I was like, I'll just do art on the side. I don't have to take the classes, whatever. And I signed up for PE and health for my sophomore year. And I put art one as my alternative if I didn't alternative if I didn't get into PE and health. I didn't get into PE and health. So I got into art and I was like, well, this could be fun. I mean, I love art. So I'll just give it a shot. And I ended up absolutely loving it. My teacher was my best friend, best influence. She was amazing. And I just fell in love with all types of art. And we did just the painting, drawing, printmaking, just photography. It was just opened my eyes to so many different mediums. And they introduced a digital design and photography class my senior year of high school. And I was like, well, it's the only art class I haven't taken, so might as well just do it. And I
Gotta catch
really
them
loved
all.
it. Yeah, yeah. So I was with all my friends and it was so much fun. And so I really, once I was senior year, I was trying to think about what I really wanted to do in college. I knew I was going to go to the U of A. And I'm a very math and science brain, which is sometimes uncommon for artists. They're more, literature and English and that kind of stuff. And I'm like the very logical math and science brain. So I thought I was gonna do pre-pharmacy. I did all the work for that. I shadowed doctors, pharmacists, went to a medical camp at UAMS, loved it. It was awesome. I was like, this is my path. I love it. And I just was talking more with my art teacher in high school and realized that I have this talent. Why not use it and just figure out a way to do that? And I had heard a lot about the graphic design program at U of A, and it's pretty new. It's fairly new. So just being able to see pictures of the studio and like imagine myself there, I was like, this is awesome. Like I want to do this. So I stuck with that. I went through foundations my freshman year, which is just you take a billion classes that are like 8 weeks long about different mediums, like doing creative thinking, just kind of trying to get you to think outside the box and really push that limit. Did some sculpture, painting, drawing, color theory. Image making was my graphic design course during foundations, and I loved it so much. I was like, this has to be what I end up doing. And so yeah, I applied to the graphic design program and just hoped for the best, and I couldn't even like click submit myself. I had to have someone someone do it for me, because it was such a stressful process, and getting my portfolio together, it was terrifying. But yeah, my first year in the graphic design program, those first couple weeks, I was like, I don't know, should I be here? I think a little bit of imposter syndrome was happening. Just that comparison to other people and other people's work is something you have to deal with those first couple weeks, just kind of not trying to say that you're less than someone else, and your work is less appealing than someone else's. So I really had to push through that. And I think seeing my growth from sophomore year, which my first year in the program, to now, it has substantially changed. And especially during COVID, that was such a huge point in the program where we were working on our professional development and identity systems, learning about branding and packaging. So it was a really, in coding. Oh my gosh, we learned how to code
Oh no.
websites during COVID, and it was terrible. I hated it so much. I was like, this is the worst thing I've ever done. And you can only imagine how easy it was to learn how to code through Zoom. It was terrible. But I ended up going back this year and trying to play with code a little bit, and found out that I really enjoy it. And it's kind of a different language in itself that you get to learn to make something really awesome. But yeah, I think this year was a really growing year for me, just being able to see everybody in person again and connect back with my professors and really just see everyone's work and be there for the process. And it's just like, just thinking about me now versus me sophomore year of high school, it's crazy. I never knew I would end up here.
Oh, that's such a beautiful like overview. And I think it's
Yeah.
so necessary to do that looking back, right? Of like
Yeah.
that old me, like would never have imagined that this new
Never.
me could have powered through all these different stuff, or not the new me, but the me
Mhm.
after years of experiences. Um,
Right.
you mentioned imposter syndrome coming up in the School of Graphic Design, and I think that that's something that we deal with throughout our lives in different
Yeah.
ways. I remember you mentioning that maybe in your family you felt like you thought about things in a different way than other people.
Mhm.
And then
Mhm.
in your school, you were in this like Catholic private school environment. Maybe we can talk a little bit about like how imposter syndrome was different there, where it was like, I'm just like so vastly different from everyone versus in the School of Graphic Design, where it seems like, I'm so similar to everyone, but I'm also
Yes.
feel like I'm competing with them. Like, what was that
Totally.
like when you were a kid? What were the different ideas you were having, or how were you showing up amidst the
Yeah.
lack of shared background, maybe?
Yeah, I love that question. It is a huge learning curve. Because in high school, I kind of felt famous. I was like the art girl. I was always asked to do any type of creative project within the school. And it felt really awesome to be the person people went to when they needed something done creatively. Um, and with my family, they weren't so on board with the idea of going to art school for college and pursuing that. They weren't really understanding. And I didn't either. I was like, I just like doing art. And I think I can make this work as a career. So I kind of had to convince them there. But yeah, in high school, I think it was more of a like it felt powerful to be the creative artist in my school, in my grade. It was just a really exciting feeling. And then getting to college where you're this tiny fish in this huge pond. And everybody, when you're in art school, everybody is an artist. And so you kind of have to like, step back and kind of think about, okay, I have my skills, these people have their skills, and we could have the same, interests, and we're going to have different styles, and that's just how it's going to be. Um, and in the graphic design program, I wasn't super educated on graphic design, and it felt like everyone else was. And so that first project I had was it was such a challenge for me during when we'd have little group meetings about our next steps in the project or how we're doing right now. I just remember being like, oh my god, I did not do this right, I do not belong here. Everyone else's looked so good, they understood the project perfectly. And I had to take a minute with my teacher and be like, I need some help and some inspiration, because I don't know if this is working out for me. And after talking with my teacher and him, he was showing me some designer books and just like really taking a second to be like, this happens. Everybody feels like this. They just may not show it. And I'm going to show you how I'm feeling. And so yeah, after that, I felt a lot more comfortable and getting closer with my classmates, realized everybody felt like that. And just some people didn't show it. And so that was comforting. And I wish I had known that earlier, just so I didn't feel so like freaked out by everything. But it's definitely a different type of feeling going from high school to art school and college. It is completely different.
It is, oh, but I think it is this beautiful like journey, and I think it probably resonates. It could resonate with so many people, even if art
Yeah.
is not their thing. Like you're bringing up for me this analogy of like when we're looking in a mirror from 20 feet away versus like
Yes.
2 feet away, right? And this idea of like finding your niche. so like with the mirror, I feel like in elementary school or in high school, like you're 20 feet away and you're like, I'm an artist. Like I'm just
Yes.
high level, like that is what
Yeah.
I am. I wear a beret, like there's a
Yes.
thing behind me. I am an artist and everyone knows me as an artist, and that's my thing. And then you get into this pool of people, like you mentioned, who are all artists. And now suddenly you're a graphic designer who specializes in blah, 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 blah.
Yes.
And like you
Yeah.
start to, but there's this moment of probably like an abrasive, like, oh, you're so close to the mirror now. You're like, what is my
Yes.
visualization? Like, who am I? Why? Like all of a sudden you have to find these different parts of you. And that can be a bumpy landing or a
It
bumpy
can.
middle
Absolutely.
time until you find your new like norm and identity within that group. But such an
Yeah.
exciting thing to also get to uncover. Um, you mentioned in your journey you had to first identify for yourself that pre-pharmacy wasn't going to be your thing, and then you had to like kind of convince or maybe help other people see that vision for your
Yeah.
life too, which also sounds like it could have maybe not been the smoothest journey the whole time through, right? What
Mhm.
was that like, approaching your family? And I would love to hear more about that.
Yeah. Well, they always knew that I was into art and loved it so much. But they also realized how interested I was with science. And they helped connect me to pharmacists to shadow, and they were so excited. They were like, "Oh my God, she's gonna be this amazing scientist. It's gonna be great." And they're gonna be set up for life. And I was like, you know what? Never mind. I want to be an artist. And they tried to, help me see both sides, and which I am thankful for. Because it was it felt like when I was wanting to pursue pharmacy, um, something was missing, and it was something I enjoyed, but it wasn't something that I felt like I wanted to do forever. And I think with art, I had to sit down with my high school art teacher and just really talk to her about all the possibilities. And she just kept being like, I don't know why you're doing pharmacy. You need to go into art. The U of A has a great program. And I'm like, I know, like my parents, they really are excited about this. And so I had to kind of be like, I think I've done some good research on these programs in Fayetteville, and they seem like something that could really lead me in the right path and set me up with a career. Um, and they were supportive the whole way. They were excited. I think it took my dad a little bit to really get on board. He was just kind of like, what is
Dads
this?
have
And
that tendency.
yeah. I remember like my orientation at Fayetteville. He he was just very like, what is going on? And just because my sister, she's gonna be like a doctor or something, and, and I'm just like, sorry guys.
Good
But
for her
no,
to get to take
they
on that responsibility for you. Like she can
yeah,
do
exactly. You've got your doctor, whatever.
so much.
Yes, but yeah, they've just been so supportive. And even this year trying to help me connect with people in the design world and talk to their, colleagues and see what's out there for me. And it's been a really great experience having such supportive parents with that. Even though it did take a little convincing and evidence that this actually works, I can do this. But I think that push is what I really needed to actually convince myself that this was the right move to go into art. So
Yes, I think it's so important who we seek advice from, right? Like that
yeah.
thoughtful approach of like, I'm going to go to my art teacher because they know all these
Yeah.
facets of me in a really unique way with
Hmm.
their own background of like skillfulness in this area too. And, um, you know, there was some degree of like bravery to go to your parents and be like, no,
Yes.
like I trust this vision for myself. And I think that, there's probably a lot of careers that all of us could like take a swing at and be fine at,
Yeah.
but
Right.
sounds like you got this special insight in that moment, or like foresight into what you could really like sparkle in. And so
Yeah.
like
Exactly.
yeah, I think that was so important then that you ran forward with that. And
Hmm.
that's so cool. It led you to the
Yeah.
U of A and the graphic design program. And
Yes.
I think what's also really cool when you do that reflection backward, right? Like you said, you reflect on high school and whatever, you can
Mhm.
see where there was like inclinations of maybe what you would be doing now, even though it didn't look like it on the surface level.
Right.
So you talked about, and we can kind of like use this to segue into your style and your approach to your work, but maybe taking a very technical and logical approach to your art. Like I'd love to hear more about what that's like.
Yeah, it's I think that's the having a math and science brain is awesome for being an artist because I'm a planner. I think about, all of my approaches with how I do paintings or design. Um, I think my process is with paintings. I talk to the person who wants to buy something from me, and we talk about, color, design, font, all of that. I make these digital versions of what they are envisioning. So it's easy for me to change it and make it what they want. And instead of, sketching it out on like by hand, it's just easier for me to see the vision. And I'm a super visual person, so I have to see it to actually like be able to start doing something. Um, so that has helped a lot with planning, with especially with people who don't necessarily know what they want. I kind of try and ask these questions and kind of interview them on what their interests are. What does your room look like? What is your favorite colors? All of that. And with design, it's a lot of research. It's tons and tons of research. If I have a topic like a social cause, for example, I recently did a project on advocating for women's reproductive justice, and there was so much research that went into it. And I think with design, research is the most important thing, and it's something I really enjoy. And I think that's what was really appealing to me with pharmacy and just that research part. Like, I just love to find things out. I want to know the answers. I want to ask questions and find the answer to that. And um, so that's what's super exciting to me with design, is making sure I have all of the correct information and getting to know the topic before actually diving into it.
That's so cool. So, when you're doing research in design, is it like the meaning behind a color and how it's been used for a cause, or like what's the research look like?
Yeah, no, it's a good question. So if it's on a specific cause, so we did a project about sustainability and environmental uh, sustainability, and we looked at these articles on different, products that have been repurposed, and we just looked through videos, articles, books about the actual cause, not so much design, but really getting an idea of what are we designing for, and making sure you're getting the full story. Because if you don't know the full story about, sustainability or deforestation or reproductive justice, and you just go and design what you think, you would fit, it never turns out right ever. And so it's more about knowing what you are designing for, not even thinking about the design itself, but making sure you're getting all the correct information so you can have all these notes and all this knowledge about the topic to be able to really understand the when you are going to start designing, what kind of colors are appropriate for this topic, what kind of font, and like this typeface needs to be, if it's a really heavy topic and something that's really like advocating for something huge, you want something huge and bold and like really in your face. If it's something a little more sensitive, you may want to go for something lighter. And it's this whole system of choosing the correct elements in a design that's appropriate for all the research you've done in this topic. So it's a whole mental process.
Yes, it's such a powerful experience. And then as the onlooker or the reader or
Mhm.
whatever to get to take in those multiple layers
Yeah.
of what's being conveyed is so exciting and meaningful.
Yes.
And I'm thinking back to, you mentioned like in the art world, maybe first identifying as a painter, right? And
Mhm.
then now as a graphic designer too. Like, how was the process different when you were approaching a work as a painter versus this like research component of graphic design? And like, was the objective different? Is that part of like why the means was
Yeah.
different? Like, I'd love to understand more.
Yeah, I think being in graphic design has helped my painting world a lot just because it's introduced me to so many different components in design because a painting has, design within it and you have to be able to know who you're painting for, what is the environment it's going in, um, and just really studying that. I think before I got into design, it was more of a free for all. Honestly, it was kind of just like whatever, which is fun. And you can tell when I started graphic design in my paintings. It's interesting to see, where that transition in my life started when I really found my interests with design and how that impacts my paintings.
Mhm.
Um, and a lot of my paintings are not my personal style, which is really funny. Like somebody asked me that not too long ago, just like noticing that what I paint is not my personal style at all. It's what I enjoy painting the most, and it's what I enjoy designing the most. And getting into those, digital versions of these paintings and getting to play around with different possibilities and having an infinite amount of time to make it perfect in the way that I want it and the way somebody who wants to buy it wants it. Um, so yeah, before I got into graphic design, it was kind of just okay, what do you want? And just like I'll sketch out something loosely and just kind of plan it and just make it like a map for something. And I think that's where I developed all the skill with painting because there was less technology involved. And that's where I really learned how to, you know, blend and trace and um, just different styles of painting. It's just where I began. And that's how, I love that I have that moment in time where I was a painter without graphic design. And I mean, once I got into graphic design, painting became a lot easier. And I had all this different technology I could use and different ways to plan out paintings. So it is interesting though. I've never really thought about it.
Yeah, what a cool synergy. And I think it must be awesome to get to reflect back and see that point in time where your work kind
Mhm.
of like changed because of the new knowledge. It's also making me think of like graphic design in a different way, which is really exciting.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
in social work, we have this theory that we are like a part of multiple systems, right? And so who we are is informed in part by like the schools we went to and the town we live in and
yeah,
blah blah blah, like our families, all these things. It seems like graphic design takes more into account like the context of the work.
yes,
Whereas maybe when you were painting, it was more of a like insular experience of like just what does that person want or like what
mhm,
I want to paint.
yeah,
But in graphic design, you're getting this chance, it seems like, to account for the environment it's going to live in and the message it needs to convey and like the history that informed the topic that's going to be on the
yes,
paper. And so, what a cool way to show up to the world with your talent and have it like speak all these volumes of different things. That's really cool.
absolutely, yes,
So you mentioned briefly that your painting style is not your personal style. And I love to maybe we can go like deep dive into how research
yeah.
informs the style of it then and like just the style that you do paint in. Like I can't wait to hear more.
Yeah, it's a really fun thing to talk about. And I think, because I really don't have any of my own paintings. I don't really paint for myself. Because it's like, okay, when I sit down and actually do have time and the supplies to do a painting for myself, I don't know what I want. Like I have no idea. It's all just sometimes it's just random ideas that don't turn out the way I want. And it's so hard to paint for yourself because I sit there and I stare at it for forever and I get tired of it. I'm like, okay, well, I'm just gonna give this one away because I'm tired of looking at it anyways. But yeah, my I think my personality is, so this is just random information, but I'm a type 2 Enneagram, and I am a very like people pleaser. I like to do things for people, and I think because that plays a lot in my paintings not being my own personal style, because I know that it'll be someone else's style. Sorry, shaking. I know that it's going to be someone else's style and they're going to love it. And I think that's what's the most exciting part to me is doing something, even if I don't like it for myself. I know someone else is going to be obsessed over it and it's going to make me feel really good. But I think, the I kind of go with the trends, what's really popular right now, what's the colors people are wearing and decorating their house with, and just seeing, I just observe what that is. And if I go into, one of my friends' houses or someone else's house, I like to observe what are people into right now. It's a huge, it's not so much that heavy research, but a lot of observation. And, I get on social media and Pinterest and just kind of see what's out there and like, what is it that people are wanting right now? And I try and stay on that trend, because if you don't, then you're not going to be a successful painter in what I do. And, my style is these bold colors and crazy graphics and big words on a canvas. And I do love that style, but it's not I wouldn't hang it in my house because it's not how my house is decorated. But I know it's how a lot of other people's are. And I know that's what other people really enjoy. So it's kind of I understand why people like this style. And even though it's not my own personal style, I will I love doing it. It's so much fun. With this type of style I do with quotes and even just a plain quote on a plain background, it's so therapeutic to just sit there and focus on those straight lines and mixing that paint that's the perfect shade to what they want. And it's a lot of fun for me. And I think my own personal style, I just don't think I'd be good at painting. Oh, so sorry.
I think that's such a great talent though, to be able to discern what is really quality work, even if it's not your personal style. Like, I don't know that many people could do that.
Yeah.
And so you mentioned like these trends going on Pinterest, Instagram, stuff like that. And I imagine that it does for you feel very organic and like subconscious, even like how you gravitate toward these things. But I imagine like on a deeper level, like there is some kind of like rhythm or structure to how you are aware in your world of things that matter. I wonder if we could like reckon with that a little bit. So like, do you follow specific accounts? Like, I don't know that you can go into Pinterest and Google like 2022 trend. Maybe you can actually, I don't know. Like, how do you, when you get onto the platform and you're like looking for inspiration, where are you going? Is it for specific people? What's that like?
Yeah, I find a lot of inspiration through an artist. Her name is Ashley Longshore. I'm obsessed with her. I really love her paintings. They're kind of vulgar a little bit. They're like, taboo like topics and visuals. But when you look at it, it looks like this really cute and fun painting with a lot of colors and rhinestones and a fun quote, and then you read it and it's something totally repulsive. And I think that's hilarious and I love that. I don't go as far as she does, but I take a lot of inspiration from her and her style of painting and that like initial message and versus the deeper message when you really get up close. And I think that's so fun to really kind of mess with people if my most recent painting I did of the butterflies and rhinestones were just like, oh, it's such a cute painting. It's got to say something like motivational and, whatever. And it was just, I'll do whatever I want. And I think it's not as, out like, it's not as scary as what Ashley Longshore says in her in her paintings. But I think it's fun to kind of play with the psychology almost of your initial judgment on a painting versus, when you really get up close and read what it says and pay attention to the backgrounds and the materials used. But yeah, I love her. I went to her studio gallery this over spring break in New Orleans, and it was an amazing experience. And I got a ton of inspiration from that. And with Pinterest, it's kind of, I've built my feed the way I want it. Like when I, when the things that I look up and when I'm trying to find inspiration from it, it'll give me those recommendations on my just normal feed, which is like so nice because it's taken like 7 years to build that the way I want it. But yeah, I kind of just look up, I mainly, when I'm looking at inspiration for paintings, it's a lot of, I'm looking at posters and design, and seeing what's popular there and kind of turning that into a painting. I think that's super fun, just because it's kind of hard to look up, fun paintings in 2022, because it'll give you some stupid stuff on Pinterest.
Like if you ever Google like the best restaurants in a place, like you're gonna get most cliched.
Like I don't want Chick-fil-A.
Or if I do, I already know I want Chick-fil-A. Like
exactly.
You don't need to tell me. Yes. Okay, that's so cool. Like let the algorithm be your friend, right? I think similarly, getting started with this platform, I had to find people on my own, like by means. And now so often it's an Instagram like ad that was recommended to me of some random artist in the random part of the world. I'm like, perfect. You did the job for me. Like, this is wonderful.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's so cool. And I just had like a really goosebumps moment while you were experiencing Ashley Longshore in New Orleans. I was experiencing her in New York City during spring break because I stumbled on her like pop up within the Diane von Furstenberg store in the meatpacking district. Wow. And I didn't know it was her until I was Googling her name because you mentioned it. And so like, that's so wild.
Oh, that's crazy. Right? That is so cool. Oh my gosh.
I have to take those pictures. It's so crazy.
Yeah. It's like, so you know what I'm talking about, like her her messages and everything.
Yeah, and it was a fully like girl power theme thing. So it was like all pictures of like Ruth Bader Ginsburg and different people.
That's my favorite. Those are I bought a like powerful woman book that she did of all of her portraits of women, and I'm obsessed. It's so, I love her style. It's so funny that was like the same time.
Right? That is super cool. And also it kind of makes me curious. I hear a lot in these things, like people are of course inspired by artists who precurse them and like stuff like that. In the graphic design world, what does it mean to kind of like maybe like emulate or take inspiration from another artist? Are there like do's and don'ts when you go into that world of like honoring another person while gleaming from them some things that you want to do?
Yeah, I think, I haven't, it's kind of hard to say because obviously if you find inspiration, it's something. So for example, last semester, one of our projects, we made a typeface, we made a font. And I found a font, like 3 letters of a font on Pinterest. So I was like, these are cool. Like, I like these a lot. And I brought them in for our brainstorm critique. And I was like, this is what I want to do, but I only have 3 letters. Can I just build the rest of the alphabet off of these 3 letters? And because I didn't know what they, looked like. So it could really just be anything. And you change what you can to still make it what you like, but not exactly how you found it. Because there's Bella. I can hear her starting to bark.
She's like, I'm on the backup. I've got
Yeah.
the property down.
Yeah. I think, it's a little easier to, plagiarize what another designer has done just because it's easily accessible with technology nowadays. Um, and with painting, when I was a beginning painter, I would copy artists all day. All day I copy them. Like, just I will paint exactly how you did it because I'm practicing and I want to experiment these different styles and these different artists, the way that they paint and design. So, in the beginning of graphic, I mean, still to this day, I'll like try and recreate something another designer did purely for practice and experimentation. But I think there is an element of you need to be careful when you are designing something for someone's brand or for work. You can find that inspiration, but it needs to be original. It's like kind of a very strict, like it's got to be original because you don't want it to be, oh, well, this looks like the McDonald's logo, just like you don't want people to compare it to something that already exists. And so it can be difficult.
Yeah, I'm sure that's hard because so much has been done, and that's awesome because they have so many sources of
Mhm.
information and inspiration, but there's also such nuance to making sure that it's like different and also pulls on
Yeah,
history. Like that's probably where the education comes in handy, getting to
right.
learn from people who've navigated that already for
Mhm.
their careers. So that's super cool. Before we get into your work, so another thing I wanted to talk about was like what your Instagram presence has meant for you and your business, and also like you've had some marketing experiences and internships and like
Mhm.
how that kind of informs how you approach your art as a like revenue generating thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I made my Instagram in high school. I think I was either a junior or a senior. I don't really remember. And it was kind of just to have a digital form of a portfolio for me, just posting what I do in class. And if I just did a little sketchbook doodle, I'm just going to post it because I want it to all be in one spot. And so that was sorry, I'm getting a million notifications.
Right.
um, that was kind of where I got, my classmates to follow. That's kind of when everybody started to make these Instagrams for just to have their work in one spot and be able to just pull from it easily. If, someone was like, oh, well, what'd you do for this project? And I'm like, well, here it is, final, and I got into my senior year, I got into calligraphy, the kind of just cutesy, trendy at the time calligraphy handwriting. And that got super popular with an all girls school. Everybody wants it on
Yeah.
everything. And I ended up making a calligraphy club for just for school. And we have like a period where all the clubs meet, or it's a study hall, whatever you want it to be. um, and I held it during our activity period and had like everybody there. Like, I was so scared, I was so nervous. I was like, I've never like taught before, let alone in front of 200 people.
Oh my
um,
goodness.
and that was really when I started to get a lot of attention for art and calligraphy. I was asked to address wedding invitations, just do all these. I was really, really into weddings during high school. A lot of people wanted me to help with their wedding, which was terrifying because it's your wedding and I'm in high school. Like, are you sure? And that was kind of a challenge for me because it's like, I don't know how to price anything. I have no idea. Like, you know, it was kind of just, okay, well, what does this person price their stuff as? And I kind of had to like think about, okay, well, I'm 17 and I'm buying really cheap supplies. This is probably taking me like 30 minutes to do. So that was a big challenge for me, like knowing how to price things, because at first I was like, well, you can just have this for free, whatever. I don't care. I'm just doing this for fun. I'm like,
Right.
well, no, I'm gonna pay you. And then they hand me like a $50 and I'm like, well, okay, maybe I could like start like selling stuff. I don't know. Like I don't have a job, so
Right.
this could be fun. And I had a friend in high school ask me to write a quote on a tiny canvas in calligraphy, and she'd pay me $20. And I was like, sure, that's easy. That sounds like fun. And so that was my very first commission ever. And it's really funny to look back on, just because I was terrible at taking pictures of things, and I was just like, well, this doesn't, whatever, like this is just going to be a high school thing. And I had a lot of people want quotes in calligraphy, and getting I kind of had to like separate myself from that once it got like less trendy. I'm like, okay, I don't really do that anymore. Sticking with the trends as always. But I had my first like actual big commission was for a teacher, one of my teachers. She really wanted an abstract painting that was oil painted. And I was like, oh my God, I've never done something like that before. And I was doing it in art class. My teacher was like, just do it like with our, so I was using, their supplies, and like, I was like, I don't know what to do. Like, it's a beautiful painting. It is like an abstract, huge painting. It was all the colors in the middle. It was textured, everything. It was a really beautiful painting for the experience level I had. That was not many years. So that was like so exciting. I was like, oh my God, I just made some bank off of this painting. And nowadays it's like I've learned how to price, and to how long things take me. So that was it was just kind of eye-opening to that. And posting that on my Instagram, I was so excited. And through high school, it was kind of just, I probably had like 100, 200 followers. And it was a lot of like classmates and family who just wanted to see what I was doing. And through college, it was really sophomore year, I think, when people kind of started back about like, hey, can you like do something like this? Or have you ever done something like, I would paint on clothing I painted on a pair of skis once. It was just weird, but I painted on a lot of weird stuff. And I'm like, well, why not? Why not?
Right.
Just having some fun, and it seems cool. And I did my first giveaway. I think might have been during quarantine. I think it was during quarantine, because I was bored and I was like, you know what, I don't have any commissions right now. But I have this huge canvas and all this paint. So I'm going to just try a giveaway and see how it goes. I looked at what other artists that are huge have done, what do they do whenever they do giveaways. And just, I posted my progress, like my process of painting it. And people really liked that, just seeing like the time lapse of the painting coming together. And I got so much from that. It was so exciting, and I was just over the moon about it. I had no idea that it would blow up as much as it did. And I think it had like over 2,000 tags in it. And I was like, this is insane. Like, I cannot believe, I think I gained like 400 followers just from those 3 days that the giveaway was open. And that's when everything started rolling in. And that's when I got, like, my DMs were full. I was getting commissions left and right. And I was like, why have I never done this before? It's like, no one ever told me that this is the way to do it. And a free painting just because you tagged somebody and you followed me is all people want. And it's such an easy thing. You just follow me, like the post, comment, or tag your friend, and you're entered in the giveaway. That's so easy for people. It's kind of the lazy way to win something really cool. And it was really it got kind of stressful there just because there were so many people on that giveaway that I was like, I do not want to mess anything up. I want to make sure this is fair.
Yeah.
And just having to pick. I remember being at the beach. Yes, I was at the beach whenever the winner was announced. I remember that. That was kind of crazy. um, but yeah, and that was after I had my first internship with Brooklyn PR, who also has a little e-commerce IOBA, and they're based out of Los Angeles. And everyone's like, how did you find that? And it was kind of through a friend of a friend who knew the girl that was hiring for this. And I was like, well, this is my first opportunity to actually, you know, get to see what it's like working with a, background in art and graphic design. And it was a very eye-opening experience. I'm so thankful for it because I really don't think I would be where I am today without it, even though it was kind of, it was just, it was kind of just a mess. It was during COVID and I was remote. So the communication was hard, and it was a lot of email marketing. I learned a ton about marketing. It was crazy. We had so much to do with that because this was a startup business, and just making sure you're getting the message out there, the products that are being sold, and building that social media presence and making sure people know about you. And I think that helped me a lot with my Instagram, just being, the manager of this company versus my own personal business. It helped me a lot understand, the marketing that really goes into it. And making sure you're active on there, posting stories and commenting on other artists' pages, and making sure and I haven't been very good about posting lately, I'm going to be honest, but
Life happens.
yeah, it happens. I'm trying to graduate first.
Totally.
But yeah, it really in the moment helped me a lot realize the impact that social media has on how well you do. So yeah, that was it was a challenge for me, being in Arkansas while they're in California. The time difference is something in
Yeah.
itself that's difficult. And then I went to Blue Cross Blue Shield last summer as their marketing design intern, which was a much different experience than this Los Angeles opportunity. It was all corporate, it was also remote, so it was a little hard to find that motivation to do something, when you're just sitting in your room all day.
Yeah.
But it taught me so much about user experience, and because I was just redesigning their forms, which I thought was going to be so boring at first. And then I realized that I really like repetition. And when I learn something, I'm good to go for the rest of the project. I am in the zone the whole time. And it's kind of fun for me to just kind of like sit there and do this repetitive technique. And it was just a really good corporate experience for me. And being able to have that under my belt and be able to talk about it with other people is something I'm really proud of. And I think, yeah, and then my most recent internship at Miller Butler Law Firm, it was kind of a last minute thing that I wanted to do. I wanted to do something for my last semester up here and make money and learn. And I was just their social media manager and their blog post girl and all of that. So I had a bunch of experience with social media. So it was perfect for me. I know how to do it. I know what people like. I know what style of posts people are drawn to. So yeah, I've been influenced by everything I've done that to help me better my own small business and my own Instagram, and making sure that I stick to what people are into right now to still stay relevant. So that's
Yes.
my tangent on
I
that.
love that tangent. It was a perfect like deep dive. And I think that it's so cool the transferability of those skills and like the versatility that it created for you and
Yeah.
like how you show up to your work and the skills that you bring to the table. We've talked about this a little bit like off camera, I guess,
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
like your approach to pop-up shops right now rather than an Etsy page. And I wondered if you could speak a little bit to the strategy behind that and what you're loving in your approach.
Yeah. So I don't really have an approach. It's I had Presley Page reached out to me and asked if I wanted to be a part of their pop-up. And I was like, I've never done one before. This sounds kind of fun. I am so busy right now, but I don't want to say no to this because it seems so cool. And I worked with their event coordinator about, the details behind, when and where, what I could bring, um, and that was such a cool experience being able to, I made this whole setup. I made this painting specifically for this pop-up. I printed all of my prints I'd just been working on just for fun, honestly. And I was like, well, these will be perfect for this. So, it was kind of the first time I had done some prints and drawings just for fun, just to see like what it could turn into and if it could be successful with selling. Um, and it was, I had my family and friends come, and I am very into this, like the marketing element of this. It makes such a difference, and making sure they're the word is out there and people know. Like I will annoy you on Instagram about reposting what I'm doing. Um, and just having, my friends and family repost it and post me there, and, saying, and it was kind of a weird weekend to do it because it was on Easter. So there wasn't as many people as I had hoped there would be, but I still had a great turnout. And after that one was over, I was reached out to by Sweet One, and to do a pop-up there because it was their first birthday in that location, and it was so much fun. I'd only had my prints that weekend, just because things got crazy and making a painting takes a long time. So the prints were a good hit. So I was like, okay, we'll just stick with those for now. I didn't sell as much that time. I think it has a lot to do with, location and marketing the event. And it was really fun just because I get to talk to so many people and they take my business card, and that means more to me than someone buying a print, is them, taking my card and potentially wanting something in the future. So those have been such a great experience. And I wish that it happened earlier in my college career, just so I could have more time to do them in Fayetteville, because they're so fun. And I'm really hoping to potentially do it in Little Rock, because there's tons of places here. I would love to do more of that. I think it's a great way to meet people and talk about your work and see, what people are interested in. So
Yes, what an exciting part of what's hopefully to come for you and your story. And
yeah,
I think, even though there is such versatility to Etsy, there's still this like, in the marketing world, these like brand associations, right? And so,
right.
like to me, when I think of Etsy, I think of like a background maybe in like craft or like,
Yeah.
not exactly the same as like pop art, like,
Mhm, mhm.
a different market maybe than like partnering with a really trendy like local boutique that has
Right.
like 200,000 plus followers. Like that's really
Yeah.
cool how you are maybe even inadvertently like making these
Yeah.
associations for your brand that are going to have like a reverberating impact that is
Right.
really powerful and good.
Yeah.
And so without further ado, I will pull up your work so people can actually see all this cool stuff.
Awesome.
So I did them, I think, chronologically based on your Instagram so that we can kind of trace the trajectory from where you're
Mhm.
getting started. I'd love to hear a little bit more about what this was, when this was, things like that.
Yeah, this one was a while ago.
I went
This
back
was
in the
in
archive.
Yes, this I'm glad you did. This is so cool. Yeah, this was in high school. We had a project where so this black paper where as a kid we had these as a kid where it was this black paper where you scraped the black off and there'd be a rainbow color underneath or just white. This one was just white, sadly, but um you had to first you had it was really easy to trace the image on there, so we put a bunch of random stuff on our scanner, and played around with placement and objects, and had a ton of different options for this specific project. So I just put some flowers, I put like a headband, I think, some earphones that are so old. And I think my face was on it. I'm pretty sure. I think I put my face on the scanner. That might have been a different project. I think that was a different one. It was weird though. um, but yeah, and you would draw, you'd put the printed scanned picture on top of the paper that you're going to be creating this on, and you would just draw with a ballpoint pen over each line, and it would transfer onto that special paper. And so this is a kind of a backwards way of drawing because you're taking away the shadow and you're really focusing on all the highlights. And it was kind of a weird way to think about it. And because when you're drawing on white paper, you're drawing those dark spots because that's what the color of graphite or charcoal would be. So this, you would just take an X-Acto knife and you would kind of scrape the black away to reveal the white, and focusing in on those highlights. So it was kind of a really cool way to really see all of the ins and outs of drawing. And it ended up being really satisfying to see everything come together. And it's really cool to see it from afar because you don't really realize that once it's done, it looks just like a normal drawing. And it doesn't look like it's like from like you're only drawing the highlights.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was a really fun and therapeutic project. I loved that project.
That's so trippy how that experience is
It
different of
is.
like get gleaming white out of like a dark canvas versus
Yes.
the opposite. That's so cool. And this
Yeah.
was a school project or something that you did for fun? Okay.
Yes, it was a school project. We all did a different version of this. So
Yes. Did any of this follow through into your future work or like how does this kind of inform
um
this or not? What is that like?
I would love to do another one of these. It was really fun. It took forever. But I think, seeing that different technique of drawing impacts my painting and design because you see all these different approaches and techniques and just different ways to look at art. And I think it's important to experiment with those different techniques and approaches to different mediums. I think, I would love to do another one of these. But yeah, I think just the process of it all falls into how I do my work today.
I love that. That's so cool. Thank you for sharing that.
Mhm.
And okay, this is awesome too and so different. Like, what is going on?
I know, it's so weird, isn't it?
But I
So
love
this
it.
I love these too. These are so fun. So this was for my image making class in my freshman year, foundations. Um, and we I can't exactly remember the prompt of the project, but we had to take these crazy portraits of like our alter egos, I think. And we had this plexiglass sitting on like a ladder, and you can put a bunch of stuff on it and lay down underneath it. So the photo is layered. So you have all this stuff. So I had this glitter and candy and everything on the plexiglass, and I'm laying down underneath it. And I did this weird makeup kind of pop art, kind of very like graphic. So it was kind of me channeling my inner graphic designer, I think. And just having all these different textures and weird faces and just not me. It's very serious, and I'm not a very serious person. And it was so much fun to experiment with this. And yeah, and we had to, I think after we took the photos, we had to do some type of graphic design, like photo manipulation over it. So I just did some weird doodles and textures to it. But this was such a fun, like seeing everybody's all together was crazy. I wish I had a picture of it, just because everybody went so far with this project, and it was so awesome to see. I remember doing this makeup and forgetting makeup wipes, and I was in studio, so I had to walk back into my dorm with this crazy makeup on, and it was so bad. But
Like college.
yeah, literally. And it's just like it was so much fun to play around though with this style of makeup and design and photography.
It makes me want like one of your future pop-ups to be like a photo shoot kind of thing, because I
Oh
want
my God, yeah.
like I want to do this with you.
That
Um,
would be so cool.
right?
Yeah.
And I think like of some foundations courses I've been in where people just like try to get by because it's not their like main jam. They just have to get through it. And I feel like you
Yes.
were like full send, like I am
Oh,
embracing this and
I
I love it. I'm so glad you did.
I absolutely, oh my God. And I have so many different stories of the crazy stuff I did. It was I really, really like, I think that is something I'm so proud of myself for, is really going hard on all the projects and giving it my all and
Yeah.
thinking of the weirdest things to do.
I love that. As you walk across the stage this week, I hope you're channeling all of these
Oh,
weird
yes.
experiences.
Absolutely.
They're
Absolutely.
epic. This is like some of that painting stuff too. And like, I
Yeah.
think a really special way that you showed up to your peer group on campus. Like, what was this?
Yeah. So this was for, okay, freshman year. I had some requests for row outfits for the big concert put on by all the fraternities, and you wear the craziest things you can find. And I had a ton of requests that I had to limit because it was so crazy. And painting on clothing is a lot different than on a canvas, because you have to think about all of the layers of paint to, so this yellow that I did on the flames, it took like 6 or 7 layers for it to actually show up vibrant. Um, and I had to use screen printing ink actually, instead of normal paint, because screen printing ink is what they would use if they just went to like what they do at Being Limited or Houndstooth or like, Comfort Colors. It's washable, and it was just it was easier for me to use there. And these flame pants are the most awesome things I've ever done. They are so cool. And it was so much fun just to really experiment with this and kind of just experiment with different style of art and painting. And I love painting on just random objects too. Just, I think with clothing, it's difficult, but it turns out so cool, and it always has. And I used to do a lot of jean jackets, just painting random thing, whatever people want on the back of their jean jacket. So yeah, these are so much fun. I still to this day think these are like the coolest thing.
It was the coolest thing. And I think, having that flexibility with yourself and how you use your talent for different occasions is so cool for
Yeah,
being out there in the world and creating these special opportunities. Like this made a lot more sense than like making posters for Row Week or whatever.
right.
That's maybe the medium that you would usually gravitate toward. Like so fun to get to expand out to apparel. Maybe there's a
Yeah,
clothing line, and there's just so many cool ways that you get to go from here with this great background of like dynamic.
exactly.
Um, okay, here's the a butterfly one. I don't know if this is the one you were talking about earlier, but
Yes, love this one.
can't wait.
Um,
And there's an Ashley Longshore book in the
oh
photo.
my gosh, I didn't even recognize that. That's so funny.
I thought that was amazing.
Yeah, that's so fitting. This painting, so this the girl that ordered this sent me a photo of a flower wall with a bunch of butterflies on it, and she was like, I know this is weird, but can you paint this? And I was like, absolutely, this looks so fun. And I remember it was, oh my gosh, it was during the election, the presidential election, and I remember just sitting in front of my TV watching it, just mindlessly painting this, just like it was like my baby. Like I loved this painting so much. Just painting every single flower so perfectly. And you have to do the background of flowers first. So there's a ton of a bunch of those flowers ended up being covered up, but you have to paint it all to see where you're going to put the foreground. And butterflies are my favorite thing to paint. I think they're so satisfying to watch come together. And just having all those colors against black is so beautiful to me. Just the contrast of everything. I think it's just so cool. Like I just, there's such satisfying creatures to paint.
Yes.
But yeah, this painting was, I didn't want to give it away. It was so cool. Even though it's not my style, I still loved it.
So special. And I'm thinking back to, you mentioned, having these poppy images and then like these like kick butt phrases on them.
Yes.
And although there's no phrase on this one, I think
Mhm.
it's really like poetic that you're painting this while watching the election, which was just a really intense moment. Like that's so wild how even though the words are not there, like there was still that duality or that juxtaposition of something really
Yes.
intense to something really like light and flowery. That's
Exactly. That's so true. Because it was just like something that was grounding me during that time.
yes. Oh my gosh, love it. Okay, this was like the first work of yours that I discovered, I think, on Instagram.
Really? Oh my
Smiling
gosh.
faces really drew me to it. Maybe was this part of the Presley page? Pop up?
It wasn't, although it would have been great for them.
Or maybe you did a giveaway with something like this?
Yes, I did a
Okay,
giveaway. And actually someone who works at Presley Page won this painting. So
amazing.
it's kind of funny. But yeah, this was my most recent giveaway. I think I was just kind of bored at home, and I think it was during this past summer when I was interning at Blue Cross Blue Shields, and I kind of just missed painting and I didn't really have any commissions. So I just was experimenting with this, and I was doodling on my iPad, trying to figure out what would look good on a canvas, and just kind of went for it with this one. I wasn't quite sure how it would go with selling. It was kind of just one of those things where if it did sell, that's awesome. But a lot of times with paintings that I just do for fun, I like to do giveaways for them just because no one ordered it. And if it ends up being someone's style, then that's perfect, then I get more inspiration about what does well and what doesn't. And these kinds of quotes with the fun background and the bold words are such a popular style right now. People love it so much. And just bright colors, and you can even see in the room that it's in is just eclectic and bright, and just really fun. And I just love lighthearted paintings like these, and they always do so well. And the giveaway itself did really well. So it was a fun process, and it was refreshing to get back into painting after, working at my desk for 8 hours a day. So
Surely. So what are the materials that you use for like this one and for the one before? Are they the same kind of paints, different? Like, do you have a go-to for when you're making paintings?
yeah, so for this one, it was just I did the blue background just with normal acrylic paint. And then I used, I think, like a candle or something to like trace the circles for the smiley
I was
faces.
wondering how you got them so perfect.
I know, yeah, and it's so hard because it's like it's great when you trace it on there, you use a stencil to put a circle on there, but when you really get to painting, it's so hard to make all of them look the same. And they don't, which I think is cute. I think I like that they're not all the same. But I use just normal yellow acrylic for the smileys, and then a black paint pen for all the outlines. And then it's kind of hard to see in this picture, but the words have glitter over them.
Yes.
And I love that part of the painting. It was so much fun to do. And then I did some epoxy resin over it, which people are obsessed with, that glaze over every painting. It just elevates the painting so much. It just makes all the colors pop. It makes it look like glass. It's just, people think it looks expensive.
Totally. We love a glazed
Yes.
moment.
Oh
But I
yeah.
so appreciate the chance to learn a little bit more of the behind the scenes
Yeah.
of those works. So as we kind of, abstract back out now to
Mhm.
like your general like work and the themes and stuff. I think I read somewhere for you that you're like doing what you love every day, which is a beautiful sentiment. And I think
Yeah, my
so many
bio.
words. Yes. Like why does that matter? What keeps inspiring and motivating you to show up for this stuff?
I think just my favorite thing about doing paintings is seeing people's reaction when they receive it. Um, there's been a lot of times where I've done some pretty emotional and sentimental pieces that mean a lot to people. And it could be, a pet that has passed or a family member that's passed. Um, and those are some of my favorites, just because I was the person chosen to do this for you and to bring some light to this dark topic. And those are some, like, just seeing reactions and having people be so appreciative of something that I just love to do as a hobby is like such a humbling experience. And um I think those are just, those don't happen often, but when they do, they're really sweet. And just, with just random paintings that people want, like for their house, if they have this vision and they need to visualize it, it's just so humbling when people choose me to be the one to visualize that for them. And I still, am so grateful for that. And I am hoping to continue that through graduation and getting settled back into Little Rock, and hopefully finding the time to do that. So yeah, I think just knowing that I'm making someone else happy is it's my favorite part.
Yes. Oh, I can't wait to see how you continue to do that and spread joy and like spunkiness and all the
Yes.
fun things. And what like lessons have been really meaningful to you, or what advice would you share with people who are trying to similarly like create maybe and use like a marketing informed lens, like a commercial
Yeah.
approach to art, like anything like that?
Yeah, I think that just if you are trying to get into art and, commissioning your work and selling your work, I think make as much as you can and show the world everything you can do. Um, because people want to see everything you can do, and being able to market yourself in a way that you have, you know, variety in your skill is so important if this is the route that you want to take. And just staying true to what you like to do, because even though I paint what isn't my style, I still love painting this specific style that I do. Um, so I think, you know, just creating what makes you happy, and if it's what makes someone else happy that makes you happy, then do that. That's what I do. So yeah, I think just create as much as you can and create what matters to you and to anyone else. So yeah.
Such a beautiful thing and an important distinction. So I'm glad that you have shared that. Thank you.
Yeah.
You know, finally, as we are wrapping up, what do you want people to leave knowing about you, and what are you looking forward to right now?
I am going, even though I'll be working a real job in the real world, I will still be an artist at heart, and I will always be creating any like something. And I always want to be painting and making people happy with my work. And I want people to know that I will be continuing that through graduation. As I move home, I need a minute to adjust. But once that minute is up, I will be back on my feet with painting, and just bringing people joy with art is all I want and all I need. So that will be happening in the future. Again, I need a minute to graduate and get a job and all of that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm excited.
I'm excited for you. I'm so appreciative that we had this chance to cross
Yes.
paths at this special moment for you. And I think I know your art's going to continue to bring joy to people, but also your just design mind. I did a little reading on your senior project too, and how it was
Yes.
a platform for teachers. And so your work and your talent is going to keep meaning so much to the world. And I'm so grateful for all that you're doing and for the chance to share your story here. So thank you.
Oh, thank you for giving me the platform to do it. This has been such an awesome experience.
Ah,